Bartholomew Town is brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Navigant Credit Union, the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, Newport Film, and Half Street Group.
Bartholomew Town.
You want to talk about longevity? Take a look at Navigant Credit Union. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. That's right. Today, Navigant's a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org. Congressman Amo, thanks as always for making time to be on the show. We appreciate it.
No, of course. Grateful to have the opportunity to chat with you.
All right, let's get right into it. The theme of sorts today is preparing for Trump 2.0. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this, obviously. Legislatively, a lot of people are looking at it psychologically. You've already announced some initiatives that seem to be intended to bolster some of the progress that we've already made, really, as a country. One area of recent note is protections for nonprofits. Talk about that and some of the other legislative efforts that you've kind of already undertaken in terms of bolstering against Trump.
Well, look, let me zoom out for a second here, because I do think it's important to take a look at the context in which we're operating. You know, I think the narratives behind what happened in the election are still yet to be thoughtfully written, but we do have some instant feedback. You know, right here, I believe the two things can be true, right? The fact of the matter is Donald Trump and congressional Republicans do not have some broad mandate. As of yesterday, we're looking at something like a 2.3 million vote, 1.46% popular vote win. That is not some broad mandate. And in fact, in the House, we had a net gain of one seat, and were it not for the deeply partisan gerrymander of North Carolina, Hakeem Jeffries would be the speaker. So I think we should be clear there. The second thing that can also be true is that everywhere did move a little further red. And some a lot, some a little, but everywhere did at minimum move a little further to voting for Republicans. That's a problem that Democrats have to work through, both in terms of the message delivery, but also the substance of the things that we have worked on, right? Because I think I said this maybe with you before. I call on Maya Angelou in times of concern, and she said people won't remember what you did, won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Democrats and our policies, right, have to go to the feeling level, have to go to that level of connectedness to people. Now, so where does that come in to your particular query? Well, we have to make sure that we hold true to values that are terribly important. The fact of the matter is that the Trump administration will overreach and misread, especially with its claims of a big, broad mandate. So Democrats are going to have to fortify the historic achievements and accomplishments in the Biden-Harris administration on infrastructure, on combating climate change, on expanding economic opportunity through things like an expanded child tax credit that we have yet to see renewed. And then also fight against any claims of government efficiency from Team Doge, and counter the series of unqualified, unprepared people that Trump has put forward for his cabinet. So we'll need our friends on the Senate side to do that work. So that's the frame, that's the context of what we need to be doing. And then the bill that you highlight from a couple weeks ago, Bill, in terms of the designation of nonprofits as the sort of arbitrary designation of nonprofits as terrorist organizations to remove their tax-exempt status is something that the Trump folks will come back to. It won't pass the Senate this time, but they will come back to. And that, again, is about retribution, about the enemy's list, the things that they've already said that they're going to do with people like Kash Patel leading the FBI.
What's the
Hopefully he doesn't get there.
Well, and that kind of leads to my question here, and apologies for cutting you off, but what is the cocktail party level? I'm not saying that you spend all your time at cocktail parties, but the D.C. sort of on the ground level, for lack of a better term. I mean, how much of a flavor is right now circulating amongst Democrats, but whether elected or in any other capacity, about the real concern at play here versus what some might call a media hype? I mean, you just kind of laid out a case that it's not quite as bad as it may seem, at least in terms of that media lens, based on the reduction or lack of a mandate altogether in terms of Republican presence in the House. But there's no question right now, it feels like things have swung dramatically towards Republicans. How much actual concern is happening in the halls of Congress and out and about in D.C. in the circles you're traveling in?
No, look, I want to characterize my beliefs properly and say I am concerned. I am not dismissive at all that the trifecta Republican government in Washington would be harmful to Rhode Islanders and to Americans because of what we've heard already. And I tend to believe people when they talk. I tend to believe Donald Trump and his folks when they state their aspirations. Whether or not they can execute against those is a whole different story. But again, turn into Maya Angelou, believe people when they show you who they are the first time. We know what they did last time, which was, tax cuts for a few, implementing tariff regimes that they even want to go further with this time around, repeated attempts to gut the Affordable Care Act. They have done this before. And so I think that they will, work to go further in the name of things like government efficiency, in the name of them, claiming that, gutting the regulatory state will, lead them to unlock America's energy future, right? By drill, baby, drill, all that, nonsense, right? That imperils our climate future. When you look at their plans on mass deportation, an inhumane way to go about what we need in terms of comprehensive solutions to our immigration challenges. And so that's where they're focused. So to answer your question, I do believe there's concern, but we have to be thoughtful and measured because the part of their plan is chaos, is rope-a-dope, is us losing all our energy fighting while they go deep in the administrative state, while they put things in legislation that are bad, but they want to constantly distract us as well. So we got to be very focused. And that's why you see me being hyper thoughtful about how to respond to Trump, because we have to have stamina to last these next 4 years, and certainly the next 2 years before I hope we take back the House. It's
interesting you bring up stamina because it reminds me of some of the conversation immediately after the election that I had with other members of our delegation, both on and off record. And I think that it's fair to say, at least from their standpoint and from many others, that a lot of the attention that was paid to Donald Trump and Trumpism and so on and so forth took a lot of stamina out of Democrats who were unable to message on some of those key issues, whether it's economic populism or just a more broad description of accomplishments of the Biden administration. Would you agree that right now that may actually be one of the most important things to not get distracted in sort of the culture war type of nonsense, fight it for sure, but also to start focusing on, hey, what is Joe and Mary Public, in this case in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, or in Coventry, Rhode Island, or generally speaking, in the middle of the country, whatever it is, what do they really need? What are they really feeling? Do you agree there has to be a shift there?
Look, I think it's less a shift because if you paid close attention, and I know you and your listeners were, Democrats were talking about the economic issues. The challenge was again, to your point on stamina, they were throwing a lot at the wall. But you heard me nonstop talking about the price of chicken wings, right? Because for me, that was a leading indicator of the number of people who came up to me to talk about the cost of specific things in the grocery store. And I sort of tried to reflect that in my rhetoric, talking about not merely the culture war issues, which, look, they're important. They're about values. But we also, at the same time, we got to walk and chew gum. We have to talk about the thing that is most acutely affecting someone's perception of not only their livelihood today, but their livelihood in the future and the possibilities that their kids have to have a better life. And so that is, frankly, a tough balancing act, because you can't be everything to everyone, but at the same time, you have to address a broad set of needs. This is the burden, and we have to do it in more specific ways, right? Broader terms like opportunity are great, but when you talk about things that people care about. When I talk about chicken wings, when I talk about medical bills, when I talk about the impact of democratic policies that are about the pocketbook and can point to that reference and point to someone's life, that's what makes the difference. And that's the challenge we'll have. And that's why I talk about these Trump tariffs. Because what that is a tax hike on every American, making things more expensive just at a time when people are saying, I don't want to pay more, right? And so that's what we gotta focus on.
What's your message to undocumented immigrants in your district right now?
Bartholomew Town.
Birds are disappearing from our landscape at a rapid pace. Over 1/3 of those breeding on Audubon Society of Rhode Island's wildlife refuges are in decline. Climate change has taken a toll on their migration, nesting, and food sources. While science is highlighting the problem, Audubon is working on real solutions with a plan to rapidly reduce their carbon emissions. The organization will be free of fossil fuels by 2030, with renewable energy powering Audubon's buildings, equipment, and vehicles. To shape our future, all of us must act. Learn more about Repowering Audubon, their avian research, and how you can join their fight for climate resiliency. Visit asri.org/repower. Newport Film screens the latest, critically acclaimed documentary films year-round across Rhode Island. Like a film festival, Newport Film often gets early access to films before they're available online or in the theaters. Stay up to date on their latest screening events at newportfilm.com or on Instagram @NewportFilm. Are you looking to advance in your career or explore a new field? The University of Rhode Island now offers a comprehensive portfolio of fully online programs designed to bring world-class education to you anytime, anywhere. Choose from a wide range of flexible, asynchronous programs in business and leadership, data, tech and STEM, healthcare and pharmacy, marine and environmental science, and more. With expert faculty and innovative courses, you'll gain the skills and knowledge to thrive in today's competitive world. Are you ready to take the next step? Visit uri.edu/online and discover how URI Online can help you achieve your goals. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communication, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. Join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org.
So my message is this. is, can't paint with a broad brush. I don't know why every single undocumented person is here, but I do know, in my experience, having done everything from teach a citizenship preparation course at the International Institute, nearly 15 years ago, to my experiences going to Beautiful Day in Providence. I know that there are harrowing stories of lots of people who need to flee for a range of reasons, whether it's gang violence, whether it's domestic violence, or whether it's the impact of climate change. You name it. There's a whole bunch. I say to folks, that they have some reason to be concerned. Unlawful entry to our country, does pose dangers and consequences. However, what we, as lawmakers have a responsibility to do is try to find a pathway so that people who are, doing their part to try to play by the rules, and we know a lot of undocumented folks are sustaining our economy in lots of ways, that we have an orderly way to get them to that next step so they can come out of the shadows. And so that's a burden that falls on lawmakers. That's a burden that I don't believe will be adequately addressed in the near term by the executive branch or by Congress, frankly. And that's what I want to be working towards: real, comprehensive solutions instead of inhumane roundups or anything that has been suggested thus far.
And to that point, what's your message to everybody else in your district about the undocumented immigrant situation, whether it's employers, neighbors? What's your message there?
Look, my message to the broader population is, look, I understand that the folks, feel, a challenge here. Right. This is you can't address this without nuance. And I think chasing after soundbite on undocumented folks is not my approach here. I do understand where people say, look, I've worked hard, I've played by the rules, and I don't think, it's fair. But I also would say, we know that a virtue and value set that we have for our country is that, immigration is a net positive. Like, I'm the son of two West African immigrants. I know our population growth in Rhode Island, in large part, has been fueled by new arrivals from Central America, from, other parts of the world. We have to work at this. And that's why I want to work at comprehensive solutions and not one-off things that create a culture of fear. We all can be better off, and that's what I want to work towards as a member of Congress.
A couple of state issues here before we wrap up today. The Washington Bridge, I mean, the number one concern for a lot of folks right now in terms of an administrative change in Washington is funding. What's your take on that? Should Rhode Islanders be concerned that the funding that may have come through in a Biden administration may not come through now in a Trump administration for Washington Bridge rebuilds? And obviously, there's also a lot of maintenance concerns, especially with the eastbound span, which is the open span. A lot of concern right now that may be worn down a lot faster than it would have been had it not been used for twice as much traffic during this sort of infrastructure crisis. Yeah,
well, look, we're approaching the 1 year, right? December 11th. I'll always remember December 11th because it is, in fact, my birthday.
Nice.
It wasn't a great birthday when I thought about the pain that Rhode Islanders were experiencing and have experienced since, learning about the closure of the span. And so I first start with the feeling of real, a shared frustration that Rhode Islanders are going through this, right? The thing about government, the thing about, public works, the thing about these particular projects is that you come to expect them to deliver on their promise. And when they don't, for whatever reason, that's frustrating because you're trying to get to work. You're trying to get your kids to and from school, doctor's appointments. We got our Trauma One hospital, Rhode Island hospital, on one side. If you have family on the other side of the bay, if you're just traveling generally, you have experienced this. You're running your small business. You are having a difficult time. And so what I would say is from day one, our congressional delegation was on the phone. I remember sitting at this desk that I'm at in Washington right now, working the phones immediately. And so I don't have fear about the $221 million not coming to this project. That has been, pledged by the administration. We want it in a very competitive process, and that fulfills what we believe we need today. Now, I read the headlines just like everybody else. Is there a possibility of needing more funds? Surely, and we will work very diligently with a Trump Department of Transportation to try to secure additional funds. Remember, when President Trump was president last time, we still got money for infrastructure, right? Like that stuff doesn't just change based on the administration. Of course, we have partisan differences, but if the administration is working for the American people, they work for the American people, whether or not they voted for them, whether or not they're Democrats or Republicans. So that, is something that we will continue to stay laser focused on. And then on the engineering pieces that you referenced, look, we continue to need to see the work of the governor, of Director Alviti, to see all these pieces through. I saw the headline a few weeks ago about potential firms interested in doing this work. We just have to keep pushing. I don't want to get stuck in the day-to-day of, some finding here, some YouTube video, there's some tweet or X post here. Rhode Islanders don't care about that. They just want to get this work done. And I'm going to stay laser focused on that and make sure that we people have the ability to travel in safety as soon as possible. And I'll do everything I can to be a part of that effort.
We've got about 90 seconds. Quickly, a few Pawtucket Central issues. Number one, Hasbro. It seems pretty clear Hasbro is going to go to Boston. A last-ditch effort may be in play. So what's your take on that? What's your message to Hasbro if there's any lingering doubt about their departure?
Well, look, I don't know that the die has been cast, to conclude this particular episode, because there are a lot of dynamics. And I was on the phone with the CEO, Chris Cox, a few weeks ago, and I made an appeal that was personal. And, I said, Hasbro's been in my life my whole life, right? I talked about the WWF action figures that I would buy and with pride see Pawtucket, Rhode Island on the back. And I talked about the family members I've had work for their company. I believe there is a case to be made for their company to have a strong base of operations in Rhode Island. I don't know that they have arrived there, and know that the macroeconomics of this, whether it's the Trump tariffs that would hurt a company like Hasbro, and just the broader sort of needs that the company has. And so I've made my pitch and appeal and stand hand in glove with others in the state who are working to keep them here in some meaningful presence. And I'll continue to keep my fingers crossed.
Your thoughts on Morley Field remaining as an athletic facility, or really being restored as a practical athletic facility versus a development. Have you weighed in on that yet?
So what I have done is I've spoken with many of the folks involved. I'm trying to navigate the federal pieces to this with the National Park Service because of the nature of the field and how it was given to the city. And what I would say is I played Little League Baseball on Morley Field, right? So I see it out of the window from our congressional district office. So it's something that isn't just an academic exercise for me. It's something that I know growing up in the Woodlawn neighborhood. So I think we need to make sure that people are around the table for this, having the real and frankly truthful conversations about what the vision here is, and I have wanted to see this process out from the federal level, and I'll continue to make sure that we do as much as we can to get the shared community vision. That's all. Everybody, who matters around the table on this issue, and it's something that, of course, I have a very particular memory and connection to.
Congressman Amo, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Bill Bartholomew here. You know, I got a great education at the University of Rhode Island. It's something that I use every day in all of my work. And now the University of Rhode Island, if you haven't heard, they're offering a wide array of programs online. That's right, URI Online. Check it out at uri.edu/online or give them a call, 401-874-5280. I can't thank the University of Rhode Island enough for the outstanding education that they provided me. They're one of the best universities in the Northeast, public or otherwise. Give them a call, 401-874-5280. That's 401-874-5280, and learn about the University of Rhode Island online. Let me tell you about my friends at Half Street Group. They bring a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience, message, and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. And you can join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew.